This is the Vivo V27 Pro, and this could be the Android that you've been looking for, because this mid-range smartphone on paper is what many tech enthusiasts might call a flagship killer. And if you stick around, you'll see why. And in this video, I'm going to quickly unbox it, give you guys a guided tour of the hardware, then show you some camera samples, and then I'll test out how well it can handle the heat when it comes to maxed out graphics and frame rates in a gaming test.
I guess I could give this a go.
And my friend Bill will be joining the party, so you'll be able to see what he sees thanks to Bill's thermal vision. Now, let's get this thing out of the box. The back is what Vivo calls a smooth 3D glass, and it's got a kind of glitter, shimmery shininess effect to it when the light hits it, quite similar to the X80 Pro Flagship from 2022. And there's two colors available. There's the Magic Blue, which is the one I have here, and there's a Noble Black version. And I must say, it feels really nice and smooth in the hand. And because the way the back and the display both curve inwards towards the frame, it actually feels thinner than it is. And it is actually very thin at just 7.36 millimeters at its thickest point, but the edge of the frame that you're holding is just 2.3 millimeters thin. And just to give you some perspective on how thin this thing really is, it's around half a centimeter thinner than an iPhone 14. Vivo do provide a nice clear silicone protector in the box, and they even put a little bit of branding on it right here on the corner. And check this out, there's even a little cap for the USB port. So that's going to protect any dust or fluff getting stuck in there. And do you know what? With the case on, it still feels really thin. Got your usual literature and a 66 watt flash charge power brick in the box that can get you from 0 to 50 in under 19 minutes. And then of course we got the Type-C to Type-C power cable. And then last out of the box, we have a SIM ejector pin. And let's have a quick look at the SIM tray options that we have. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a gasket around the SIM tray. So there's a little bit of ingress protection there. And it is indeed a dual SIM tray, but there is no option for aggressive expansion with an SD card, unfortunately. On the front, the device is just as beautiful as the back, with a 6.78 inch 2400 by 1080 Full HD Plus AMOLED display. This supports over 1 billion colors and has 120 Hz refresh rate. And when it comes to peak brightness, it's 1300 nits, which is way above average in the mid-range category. And the pixel per inch density is 388. And Vivo also brings their display AI algorithm to the table, and this helps to unlock the full potential of the display hardware. And you'll see this in action soon, because I'm downloading PUBG as we speak. Okay, now let's talk about the area that Vivo has really focused on this phone. It is, of course, the camera system. And if you look really closely at the top of the device, you'll see it does say professional portrait. The selfie camera is in display in that centrally placed location, and behind the scenes is a 50 megapixel sensor, and the optics in front of it gives this an f2.45 aperture. And I don't believe I've ever tested a phone with 50 megapixels on the selfie before. Let me know what you think of these photos. On the rear, we have a triple camera setup, a 2 megapixel macro for close-up shots if you're looking for fine details. Then you've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide, which is nice to have when you need to get lots of people in the shot. And then the crown jewel is a 50 megapixel sensor with optical image stabilization. And I can tell you from experience, Vivo's OIS is second to none. Now, if you're wondering about that primary sensor, it's a Sony IMX766V, and the V is of significance here because it represents the fact that this particular sensor from Sony was jointly developed with Vivo. Now, another nice addition to this camera hardware is the Aura Light LEDs. This consists of 3 light LEDs which are linked together and kind of create this ring light effect, which is incredibly bright and fantastic for very low light settings. And there are so many camera modes here to test out. Thanks to Vivo's software, it kind of needs its own video, there's that much going on. But just to summarize it for you, there's a dedicated night mode, there's a super night video mode, there's a vlog movie mode, there's movie LUTs, there's moonshot modes, just to name a few. And let me know if you'd like to see this phone up against another mid-range smartphone in a comparison. What phone would that be? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so I haven't talked much about the battery, the processor, the storage when it comes to RAM and ROM and all this kind of stuff. So let's run through that really quickly. The battery inside this device is a 4600 milliamp hour cell. And that's not as large as some of the others in the mid-range. Quite often we see 5000 milliamp hours, but this makes up for it in a couple of areas. Number one is that charger you saw that was in the box. That's a 66 watt fast charger, which can get this phone back up to 50% in just 19 minutes. But there is something else that helps the V27 Pro's battery last longer than your average mid-ranger. It is the fact that this has a flagship chip. It is the MediaTek Dimensity 8200, which is a 4 nanometer processor, which is incredibly powerful and power efficient at the same time. And the storage options are 128GB with 8GB RAM, 256GB with 12GB RAM, and thanks to the Dimensity chip, there is the option for RAM expansion. Up to 8GB of the onboard storage can be used as virtual RAM to speed everything up. And on top of that, this does have a very advanced cooling system built into it, and we'll be able to visualize that in action with my friend Bill once we put this through its paces. And if you're wondering about the speakers built in, it's a single firing downward speaker on one side, so that's something you've got to be mindful of when you're playing games. Okay, since it looks like I'm going to be running a marathon here, I might as well do a quick temperature reading about 15 minutes into gameplay, but keep in mind I've been taking photos and doing all the other stuff and actually charging the device a bit prior to playing this game. So the maximum temperature right now is 37.9 degrees, top right corner. I'm seeing a lot of the heat actually dissipating around the middle here, and that's where that cooling layer is. Where is he? Oh, he's on the roof. Okay, half an hour into the gameplay, I placed 6th, which isn't bad considering I haven't played this for quite a while. Let's see what kind of temperature we got on the back of the device now. So you can see the maximum temperature now is 39.5, which is lower than the 41 degrees that normally causes the throttling. Now let's try some Genshin Impact. Okay, to make things a little bit more interesting for this second leg, I actually put the phone in the freezer for 5 minutes to cool right down before we do this test. So we can do it before and after and see how much it heats up after around half an hour gaming on Genshin Impact. So the reading right now, you'll notice everything's kind of blue. And as you can see, the hottest part that Bill can see is the table. The central reading is around 17 degrees. The minimum is 15.4. And now it's time to get some Genshin Impact on the go. The graphics by default is set to medium, so I'm going to set it to the highest. And there is a warning saying it could overheat the device. Alright, so we're just at the half an hour mark now, just gone over it, 8:02. So you'll notice here the heat in the top right corner has now reached 43 degrees. I didn't notice any sort of slowdown. It's still holding up pretty well. The main part of the device here is 40 degrees, and that's because that heat dissipation, you can see it's kind of moving down the device. The chip is in the top right corner here, and that's where it's hottest. But that is doing a good job, and you can actually see sort of 3 different shades of orange here. And that's the heat kind of gradually passing through the device and dissipating. Let me know what you thought of this video. If you guys want to check out some more Vivo stuff, there's some thumbnails on screen right now. And if you do, I will see you in the next one. Don't be late.